Aaron joined. Why can't I see him? Removed from live video as go live with Aaron Maybin.
There you are.
Man, I had my intro and everything. It was all put together. It was smooth. So, Aaron, we're going to do this again. You ready?
I'm ready, sis. You go ahead.
We're going to act like people that people just jumped on here. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dion Joyner Williams. It's like a Tribe Called Quest. You got to say it all together. I am blessed today to be sitting here with Aaron the Maybin. But I wanted to give a little context for how we ended up here. I'm going to turn off my friend Easy Jackson and his song Be Great, because if there was ever a time to remember who we are, it is today and every day moving forward. All right. Okay, so for those who don't know me, I come to you today in various forms. I come to you today as a business leader here in Baltimore. I'm the Chief Energy Officer of Audacity Group, which is a brand shop for bold ideas. We listen for solutions and we share them boldly. We also do global marketing consulting, which actually comes from my experience of being the Chief Marketing Officer for Visit Baltimore, a destination that is required and responsible for telling Baltimore's story. It was a blessing for me to have been doing this work for over 20 years because I'm also a product. You can call me a daughter, an aunt, a cousin of Baltimore. Grew up in Sandtown, Winchester. And I tell the story that it was at the age of 8 years old, when my mother had to explain to me that our zip code, which I had to lie about, was going to keep my brother and I from receiving the education and the resources that she knew that we were deserving of. So she wanted me to ensure that I do not tell anyone my address. She said if I did, she'd be arrested. I was like, you have got to be lying. I was an inquisitive Aries 8-year-old, and I had to understand why. That doesn't make any sense to me. And from that day forward, I understood that my race, at the age of 8, I realized that my race was actually going to be a factor for others in how they saw me to be. In 2015, I had the opportunity to talk about Baltimore in New York. I left in April of 2015 for a few days to share what our city was beyond what people perceived us to be. I felt like I did a great job. I was able to show that we were even more than the series The Wire, which everyone came in the door asking me questions about. I actually used that as a way to pivot into the fact that art imitates life and life is art in the city of Baltimore. I rode home, catching up on my emails, and I tried to figure out, piecing together what was going on in the office. I see mounted police, West Baltimore, 25-year-old black male, and I'm sitting there like, who the fuck is Freddie Gray? By the time I reached Penn Station and had caught up to the world, I knew for a fact that CNN and every major news story was going to use Baltimore as its pinata. So though Audacity Group was turned into an agency in 2018, I say that it was birthed in 2015, because I realized that African proverb that until the lion learns to speak, every story will always glorify the hunter. So to now have an opportunity to be a voice for the lions. So where people see that roar and that rage and that anger, to actually be able to understand what the lion is saying. So now in turning hashtag My Be More into hashtag My Be More Project, which acts as a nonprofit to simply share the positive stories that are happening in Baltimore and ensuring that the people that Baltimore trusts the most has the information that they need to ensure that our lions can speak for themselves. So we're asking, what's the 410? on tomorrow's event. And who better to speak to about this peace rally that's happening tomorrow from 12 to 4 than Aaron Maybin, who, before going through all of the credits, I think the most important one to start with is that he is a father first. With that, Aaron, I just wanted to take a moment and say, one, respect to you, and tell us why you are here today and talking to. I want to view this audience as this is the ears of our Baltimore community. What do they need to know?
What they need to know is we're not waiting on anybody to come save us. Plain and simple. Because nobody is coming to save us. Nobody has. Nobody has ever came to save us, and nobody ever will in the future. At the end of the day, tomorrow's rally is not going to be just your conventional rally. It's not just going to be, a march in the streets where we preach at everybody afterwards and send them on home right back to the same situation. First and foremost, tomorrow is a collective project that has been brought together, not just by myself, but I got to highlight some of the amazing organizations. There's no way for me to highlight every single one at this point, and that's a beautiful thing because now we have over 30 of our grassroots organizations in this city that are going to be participating, which is amazing when you take into account how many of our organizations never work together or collaborate. You know what I mean?
And before you list those names, Aaron, I want people to understand one of the things that I've heard out of these conversations is building a village takes a village. So in understanding, just like with the My Be More project, this putting this individualism and ego aside has now created a safe space for people to bring action versus the words that we've been hearing. So as you're listing folks, I just want people to understand it's a ... because those that are listening right now, you are also a part of the rally that's taking part tomorrow. You are an
Absolutely.
organizer in this.
And
So
we
go ahead, Aaron.
want, even today, if you're an organization that wants to come out and wants to have space to do what you do and serve, as long as you are willing to do it for free, we want you. As long as you're willing to offer whatever those services are to the community for free, email us. I'll drop Phil's email in the chat at some point, and
My
you
Be
guys
More
can reach out to him
follow up.
directly. Exactly. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, and like Dion just reiterated, we're trying to kill this disease of individualism because it's killing us. It goes against every fiber of our beings and who we are as a people and a community. Capitalism was never established with us in mind. You know what I mean? Segregation, redlining, all of these things were things that were done to us because they were done to disrupt our peace. As Erica Bridgeford always says, us as a people, who we are, when nobody's fucking with us, when nobody is disrupting us, when nobody is trying to harm us, that's who we are. That's what we are, is peace. But everything that happens to us in our community is literally robbing us of that. You know what I mean? Your peace of mind, your feeling of safety. And then we can go into the trauma and the emotional toil of dealing with the reality of living in poverty. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. Like having to make last month's pay stretch long enough to cover this month's past due bills. You know what I mean? Like the idea of constantly drowning and only every now and again being able to get your head above water for a gasp of air. Like that's what our people deal with on a day-to-day basis. And usually how we're told to address this thing is work harder, do more, be more. With what resources? Because we're already overworked. We're already underpaid. We're already undervalued. You know what I mean? So essentially what you're telling us is you want us to kill ourselves because you don't want us in thriving neighborhoods. You don't want us to have peace of mind. You don't want us to have financial security, economic security, educational security, food insecurity. You know what I mean? All of these things, like, so you want us to kill ourselves. Okay, well, what do we do about that as a community, because people always act like, and that's the thing that it pains me. Every single time violence happens within our community, you have the same individuals, I'll say, that give the same talking points. When are they going to stop killing each other? You know what I mean? Like when are they going to stop acting like animals? When are they going to stop doing this? When are they going to stop doing that? As if, you know what I mean? We're literally just walking around every day, approaching each other with violence, approaching each other with, you know what I mean? Arguments. No, these are branches on a tree, and we never get to the root of the issue. So tomorrow, what we wanted to do initially was to bring over 100 organizations together that serve Baltimore in those areas where we're deprived. So in the mental health space, in the education space, returning citizens, jobs. A lot of times we'll always talk about what these dudes on the corner should be doing, but you don't got a job for them.
Right.
You don't have training for them. You don't have an opportunity that they can replace this mindset and understanding with. Like, in order for us to really move the needle, we need to bring those resources to the table in that discussion.
So let me ask you, Aaron, when I was running for office in ninth grade, Western High School, Dove Love for anyone that's listening, I went to my father for my speech. And here it is, this 14-year-old girl was standing in the cafeteria, and I was like, look, here it is, our student body, the administration needs to listen to us. And if Muhammad won't, if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. Now at 14, I was saying it. At this space, I understand it, the idea of bringing what is needed to those in need where they are.
Exactly.
So this idea of, I've been listening to the conversations that the community goes as we go. So for people that are coming in and out of this chat, I just want to reiterate to them, we're talking about at 940 Madison Avenue, that's near the State Center.
The parking lot, it's the parking lot directly behind the State Building. So right on MLK, that huge parking lot that's right there, you literally will not be able to miss us.
So you said at 12, but so is there a cleanup beforehand? Then you get there.
The city is already doing a community cleanup that morning. So we will, the organizations that are putting this thing on will be showing up bright and early to make sure that the space is clean and that everything is properly set up. So we'll be there early. But the Peace Walk itself starts directly at noon. And then as soon as the Peace Walk ends, we'll relocate into the parking lot of the State Building and we'll start the actual program. We have a dynamic lineup of powerful speakers, not just, and that's what I love about this process too. This isn't just what you've seen before in terms of your conventional, typical patriarchs coming in that are gonna sit up there and preach at everybody and tell everybody what we should do. We have student leaders that are going to be up on that stage also. You know what I mean? We have the youth that are already involved in this work from a grassroots level at their young age, speaking for themselves and telling us what they feel like they need in order to be sustainable. You know, we have some amazing college students from Morgan State University, Coppin State University, Bowie State University that are going to be showing up. And it's been great to nurture that relationship with them. In the aftermath of what happened, a lot of us just wanted to show up and have a show of force and to, you know, make our presence felt. But then I kind of raised my hand like, hey, is that what they're asking for? Mm-hmm. Is that what the students want? You know what I mean? Because they need to be the tip of the spear for whatever the response of this thing is. You know, they're too used to their community elders coming in and telling them what they need to do instead of empowering their voice and allowing us to guide those things that they say that they need for themselves. You know what I mean? So that comprehensive communal discussion doesn't get a chance to happen when we're not unified in a space and we're siloed off.
You know that we have these conversations often. There's 2 points that I need to make sure we get into before leaving, but I'll start first. You have to start somewhere. Absolutely. Right? So when you find yourself, like what's happening here is from Utah Street to the UK. Baltimore is not dealing with an anomaly here. As a matter of fact, we've had the conversation where I've made it clear that if the United States was an experiment, which it was, then Baltimore
It
would be the
is.
control.
Yeah.
Baltimore is the control, because here it is, you could get the antidote to everybody else and their grandmother, but Baltimore still has a way to cure itself on its own. And on its own, that means that we are able to disrupt the entire outcome of the entire experiment.
Right.
So that's why we have so many people that come to Baltimore and sit with people like Aaron and others who are logging on and who are connected to the We Are Us movement and others. They come in, get this, institutional knowledge and, take this intellectual property that's built from true passion, and they go and they leave and monopolize this,
Yeah.
and then continue to use Baltimore as what we know for the next 4 years as the butt of everyone's joke and the political pinata for someone's next rise to the White House. So to understand that right now, this movement, I saw one of the comments where someone was like, man, just don't let it be a movement. And I'm like, my God, when did just being a movement become
Man.
yesterday's
Man.
hachoo?
How much of
So I just want to
an
ask.
insult, how much of our insult to our ancestors does that come across as? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, how dare us not want a movement? If anything, we need a movement. We have too many moments. You know what I mean?
Oh,
This is the year, this is the time of instant gratification, of you needing people to like, comment, share, subscribe right now. A movement isn't sexy enough for us, and that's what's killing us. The individualism in that is killing us. And I don't even know who said this, so this is not a personal attack on any individuals. This is
a
we
mindset.
all have been drinking the same Kool-Aid, and it's poison. That's why we got diabetes. You know what I mean? Like this right here, we need a movement. And part of, I had this conversation with a group full of leaders last night, right? If we don't have unity, we don't get a movement. But how do we get a Montgomery bus boycott? How do we get a Black Power movement? How do we get an arts movement if we're looking at it through that lens? Are we going to act like those movements did nothing for us as a community? You know what I mean? Like, are we not learning from the mistakes that were made during those times? Or are we just hell-bent on repeating the same systems and the same cycles until we're no longer able to do anything about it? Like, I need us to expect more from ourselves. I need us to love ourselves a little bit more than that. I need us to love each other a little bit more than that. We need a new code, man. This thing ain't working. This idea and concept of how we go about addressing these problems is broken. And we can't wait on, I don't believe in trickle down economics, and trickle down policies and trickle down ideas. I believe that everything of substance is built from the ground. If it's not rooted in soil, in fertile soil, then we're not talking about nothing. And the problem is we're expecting to do, this has basically become an environment of mental masturbation, of intellectual pandering and Olympics, where we try to impress white folks with big words and hard stories about trauma and pain, where at the end of the day, we're so much more than that. We're
Poverty
so
porn.
much more than that. I refuse to reduce us to the lowest form of our being for public consumption. Nah, like I'm gonna challenge us to raise the standard.
So Aaron, let me just note, as people are coming on and off, I do not want the conversation to be lost that we are speaking about the peace rally that is happening tomorrow from 12 to 4 at 940 Madison Avenue. Can you tell, where is this site? So first, if you're not, go to mybemoreproject.com. Please subscribe there, to subscribe to My Be More, so we can stay up to date on information. But Aaron, what site should I be pushing? Is to get people to information?
You could
Point of contact.
you could send them to any of us. Pretty much all of us have kind of discontinued everything in our lives publicly, except for promoting this thing right here. You know what I mean? If you go on my page, you'll see nothing but information about this event
So let
and
me
all the
so let me
recruiting
help
that we've
out.
been done.
So
We Are Us page has all of the flyers and information. Healing City, Healing Baltimore. I'm sorry, they have a lot of the information, but it's all going to be the exact same stuff because we're all speaking with the exact same tongue and we're all of a single mindset to address this issue as a collective and
so
not as individuals.
so know this, one, by my Be More being in the mix, we want to act as, we've had this conversation. If the city of Baltimore, not if, the city of Baltimore stated that when they're looking for their information that they trust, they look to their grassroots leaders and their artists.
Right.
They feel that artists have a responsibility to be a reflection of the time. You can't lie,
And I'm literally
right?
in both spaces.
You
So
understand that? So,
yeah,
to understand that now, if you take a step back though, and you look in the city of Baltimore to see who is responsible for ensuring that this group that Baltimore has stated that they look to for information has information, there's no one there to take that accountability. So my Be More project, Dion Joyner Weems at the helm, has stepped in to just share information, to be this connector. But I want to go back to the code, Aaron, because as I was standing with my boys looking over some of the information, and they heard one of the call outs about, hey, we expect to see youth. If you don't have children, go find some children.
right.
We want everyone there. And then my boys were like, me? They want to hear my ideas?
Yes.
So talk to me about the code and what the expectation is for the youth that are going to be there
So the
tomorrow.
code, man. At the end of the day, the code is what sustains us. There has to be a way that we deal with one another in community, right? That supersedes individualism, where we're literally putting the village before ourselves. Is this good for the village, or is this just good for me as an individual? Is this going to benefit our neighborhood, or is this just going to benefit me? If it's just going to benefit me, does that come at the expense of my community or of my neighborhood? I don't think that we're asking ourselves these questions enough. And part of the problem with the fact that we don't have a code amongst us is because we don't feel a sense of responsibility to operate like that. So my code at the end of the day, it centers in this idea of from the streets. If you're talking about from a street perspective, essentially, we don't harm our elders. We don't harm our women. We don't harm our children. We create safe spaces for them to thrive and be successful. You know what I mean? Like these are principles that used to guide everything from the, like I
Yes.
said, from the ground. As we get a little bit higher up that scale and we start getting to the halls of public policy, then it's important for us to be practicing group economics. It's important for us to be working within community to build institutions that will make us sustainable. It's important for us to have a control of the education process of our children, etc. There are a whole lot of things that encompass within that code, but it all goes back to a love ethic first and foremost. And that's like literally, I do a community walk. I just, as I signed on, I was just coming back in the house because I do this several times a week. About 3 or 4 times, I'll just walk around the neighborhood several times and talk to everybody that I pass by. We'll have conversations. And this time we actually filmed it. So I'll be dropping some footage from it a little bit later because we had some of the most powerful conversations on the block today about what needs to be done to fix the problems in our community. And the problem is, if you let national media outlets tell that story, they act like those conversations aren't happening. They act like
Not
those,
happening, or that they don't matter. They make it seem like, oh, this is just a check off of the ballot. Go ahead.
right. And they act like nothing's being done from a community standpoint to address these things. But it is. People have been out here for years doing this work. You know what I mean?
You
Like
said we haven't always looked like this, Aaron.
say it
You
again.
you you've stated that we haven't always looked like
Yeah.
this. What people
Our
are
community didn't used to look like this, but it also didn't used to feel like this. I talked to a mother this today on the street that told me that she's afraid to have conversations with the young men she passes by. It was only because I greeted her as mother that she was able to engage with me. That robs something from us. You know what I mean? Like that robs something from us collectively as a community when we don't sit at the feet of our elders, hear their stories, understand the things that they would have done differently given the opportunity, hearing how they learned about love and loss and all of these things. Like that's part of what is supposed to be our food. You know what I mean? And the fact that we're not feeding ourselves correctly, we're malnourished as a people, as a community. And the only way for us to beef ourselves up, the only way for us to put that weight back on is to get back at the feet of our elders and to be with our kids. You know what I mean? Like I kind of hate people that give you the whole it all starts at home thing whenever we talk about our problems. But the reason why we hate it so much is an element of it is true. There is something. You can have
You're not
all of the
acknowledging that we
positive
were also
influences in the
taken
world
from our.
around you. But
Mhm.
if your home environment is unsafe, unstable, unloving, then it doesn't matter what other influences you're getting, you're still deprived of something. But the solution to that isn't just to condemn people for that. How are we figuring out how to flip that script? And what I love, I forget which book it was, but Bell Hooks wrote about it one time when she talked about the fact that even like we've always struggled as a people, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We've always had to deal with having half as much, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and all of the systemic issues in our community that are literally done to us. But even at our worst times, we still had loving households. How much money we're making isn't what determines whether or not we're capable of creating a loving environment. And the fact that we have this individualism embedded in our mindset makes us think of ourselves only through, specifically Black men, through our utility. So if I'm not making enough money, I can't create a safe, loving, happy environment in my household.
Mhm.
I can't afford this. I can't afford that. But you have yourself. You know
Correct.
what I mean?
Right.
Like you can still choose to leave all of that at the door and be present, loving, and committed once you enter your household. That's supposed to be your place of peace. And if that's true, if it starts at home, then once we get on code in our households, we're supposed to bring that peace with us into every room that we go into outside of our household.
You know what, Aaron? It was there. It was a unifying term when you started discussing the code, but started first from the home, from the community, from the street, from
Mm-hmm.
the corner first,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking it to that next level, which again unifies us. So to understand that when we talk tomorrow, we want the CEO of Baltimore and your son, daughter, and children out here, because we're talking about the code has to be adopted from the people up,
Right.
not you
From the ground.
dictating what it is from the top down. But I want to use your father's quote, which I saw in one of the conversations about, what happens when good people don't
Yeah.
do what they're
The
supposed to
only
do.
way evil can prevail is when
So
good men do nothing. Yeah.
talking about, start with that quote again, but to also explain the folks that have been involved to date and use this as a call out to
Right.
others, of other good people that are listening, of what they
Absolutely.
need to do tomorrow.
And that really needs to be stated, right? Because it's not lost on me that there are many reasons why you haven't seen this level of collaboration in the past, right? Like, how deep do I want to get with this? All right, so basically, the state of Baltimore grassroots is this. They put some scraps on the floor in a room full of hungry people and watch them fight over it, watch themselves tear each other apart over it, knowing that these are scraps that wouldn't even be enough to sustain one of them. That's what the city does with its grassroots organizations. Throws a little bit of money on the floor, not enough to really sustain any of them, and watch them tear each other apart and beef with each other and work against their own self-interests for scraps. when at the end of the day, if we were unified, if we were a unified front, we could demand a seat at the table and a damn plate for ourselves. But because we've allowed ourselves to be complacent with scraps, we've allowed those scraps to turn us against each other. So it's actually hard. It's hard work to bring this many communal organizations together, because some of them have beefed over grant funding before. Some of them have banged over opportunities that they both were supposed to deserve. They both deserve to get.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we got to understand that this is not coming from a place of us just not wanting to work together. It would be great, but we're fighting for our survival. People are fighting for enough. Like, we could talk about the B. Gaddy Foundation and all this stuff that we've had. Like, we're not, none of us are getting enough. All of us are undervalued. All of us are underpaid, under-resourced, understaffed, but we're finding a way of doing the most we have with what we got. But what we've been trying to do with this whole thing is get us to understand that, especially coming into an election year, when all of the same political pimps are about to descend upon our communities again with the same poorly rehearsed lies and the same empty rhetoric and the same hollow promises that we fall for every time. What is our collective Black agenda? What are the demands that we're making of these people? If we don't have a table where we're all sitting at, where we can take ego, pride, and individualism out of it and say, what does the community need? Then we're going to let this time come, and we're gonna end up getting pimped again with nothing to show for it. But if we have unity, we can make demands, because the people move when we move. Ain't no politicians that were out there with us on the block just now. And when you see the video, you'll understand exactly why I'm talking like this, because everything we need to change this city is already
It's right here.
It's
Well,
already
sweetheart,
here.
you know you're preaching to the choir, but the thing is, it's a song that needs to be sung. So it's the idea that,
I will
again,
beat that dead horse until the joint can't move no more. I don't care.
Yo,
Like,
I'll put on some Cardi B.
right.
That. So anyway, but to understand again, there is so much more to this conversation, and Aaron and I and others, there is nothing but encouragement that I see here, because I've always understood that it requires first a heart and mind shift, heart and mind shift first before we're actually able to move forward. So tomorrow is just another example of a heart and mind shift. And I just want to reiterate to those who are joining and who are going to watch, rewatch this, the idea is that if you're seeing this, you're involved.
Right.
That we all have skin in the game. And if we did not realize that the next 4 years are the most crucial in the city for Black Baltimore, because if we do not find a way to get a collective voice and organized in what our needs are, then all of the development and investment and innovation that we see happening in this city 4 years from now, none of us will be able to benefit from it.
And there's so many people that I talk to, a lot of folks, not even today. Most of the folks I talk to today are actually on code and have hope. But there are a whole lot of people that I talk to that, like, and I used to be one of those people. Like, I used to be what's the point of another stop the violence rally? Like, what happens after the march? Like, what's going to make people stop shooting? Like, that nihilism is not just something that I see in society. Like, I've had it. But what I would say to those folks is, like, for those of you that don't believe this can work, like, ask yourself, like, if what we're trying isn't the solution, then what is?
What is?
Like, can you you can't honestly tell me that you believe that the police are ever going to save our city for us, or that a politician is coming to save us, or that a superhero is going to parachute into our community, you know what I mean? Like with all of these benevolent resources and just change it. Like, at the end of the day, like, we won't accomplish anything by acting like this problem isn't ours to address anymore. Like, and by looking to others, like, I don't even want people looking to me anymore. Like, don't put up a pedestal under me and prop me up as if I'm somebody that's doing anything special. Like, all of us have this responsibility to invest in creating sustainable solutions. Like,
pause, 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 pause.
I'm sorry.
Because
I get
no, no,
emotional.
no, no,
I'm
no, no.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, what I'm saying pause because I want to just give acknowledgement. Remember earlier in this conversation, I said that there's two things that I had to make sure that we discussed. We got the one, I couldn't remember the other. And as you're speaking, I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to stress because God will speak, and it's there. Because as someone who serves in a space where people have so much need, in a place where you feel like humanity doesn't exist, it can give a small hope to someone that's it's like it's devoured. So now it's like, sister, you're the next Harriet, brother, you're the next Martin, you're the next Malcolm. And it's like, please understand where we are. No, no, no. And I'm like, this is the pause, because I also need for y'all to understand. I want you to look in Aaron's eyes and see the exhaustion.
I need
I
your
want you to hear the
Yeah, I
passion.
need to say
And
something real
go
quick
ahead,
because a
speak,
couple
speak.
people, especially, and that's I need people to understand that I've been speaking a lot publicly lately because I'm recruiting, right? I don't enjoy I don't enjoy publicly speaking, especially not about these things. But I understand the responsibility goes along with the platform, and like Dion, I need you to understand when I say I do not take that lightly.
I know you
Um,
don't, Aaron. I
it
can
it
see, I can feel
weighs
it.
on me.
I
I
can
need
feel
people
it.
to because somebody said something after one of my speeches a couple days ago that really I had to sit with it for a couple days before I could even respond to him. And he had said that whole, the Martin, the Malcolm thing, and yeah, you're speaking, it channels this memory of, and I need people to understand that, like, when you say that kind of stuff about us, and I've had this same conversation with people like Erica Bridgeford, with people like Brittany, all of
Rashad,
like, I
name
need
them
you to
all. Yes.
know when you talk about, yeah, you're like Martin, you're not Malcolm, you're like, that these crackers killed them, right? No. I'm not, like, I'm dead ass. Like, you got to understand that, like, before I leave the house every single day, right? Literally, when I'm going into the streets, when I'm going into the rec, when I'm going into everything, I kiss everybody, kiss the kids, kiss my lady. And before I walk out the door, she says, make it back home. Do whatever you like. You go serve the community, do all that. Like, but black man, you make it back into this house. I don't think people understand that there's no safety or security in the work that we do. Oftentimes it's thankless work. Oftentimes it doesn't get recognized unless there's some kind of like national attention around this stuff. Like, that's not a compliment for me because most of these people who you would compare us to never really got a chance to live. I can't tell you the last time I took a vacation. I can't tell you the last time that I did anything for personal enjoyment outside of, you know what
I
I mean?
get it.
Like this work is my life. And that's a sacrifice that I'm happy to make. But what I
It's a sacrifice
refuse to do
nonetheless.
is have people platform my existence and tokenize it as something that is not all of our responsibilities. Yes, there is a privilege that I have of being a former professional athlete that allows me to dedicate 100% of my time to this work now. I acknowledge and understand that. But if you got 5 minutes, if you got 10 minutes, if you got an hour, if you got like, there's a responsibility that goes along with that we're not acknowledging. And don't tell me I'm digging a great hole, pick up a shovel and get down in here with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell us we're doing great work addressing these, like, what are you doing?
What are you
You know
doing?
what I mean? What are you doing? How are you contributing? Like, who are you supporting? Like, who are you building with? And if we can do a better job of answering those questions individually and as a collective, then we'll actually start to see this thing transform.
And understand that those who are watching, it has to happen now. So tomorrow we expect to see you at the rally, but do understand, take a step back and look at major urban cities across the United States of America. If you were born, let's say 1975, 1990, you are that when you do the Martin, Malcolm, look at our mayor, 40 years old. Like, I need for you to understand that you are those people. This is your time now. Like when James Baldwin says that time's up, the rent is due, what are you bringing to the table? He's talking about you.
Yeah.
He's talking about me, because understand, 4 years from now, look at Aaron. And but Aaron is tired. If one more person sends me a message saying, Dion, your eyes are telling me something, I'm going, yeah, they're telling you something. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, no, these problems will not be solved overnight, but we need more Aarons. We need more Ericas. And our youth need to understand, what does that look like? And that this whole poverty pimping, that shit ain't fair. And we're stopping it now.
And to go back to what you said your son said, right? We need him. We need them. So you talked about the village, and that's the beautiful thing about how we plotted this out. So when you show up tomorrow, you're going to see that we have the parking lot sectioned off into villages. You have healing, you have hiring, you have health, and you have help.
Say it again.
Healing, hiring, health, help. All of those organizations that are coming, that are giving away resources, are all grouped around those ideas. And in addition to the speakers that you'll have on the main stage, each village has its own activation tent where we're going to be bringing the kids in and platforming them to speak on what they feel like needs to happen to change the city. We're going to be conducting interviews and having content creators out there that are literally interviewing our kids and their families. The qualitative data that we're going to mine from this is going to be nuts, but it's not. This ain't one of the institutions here. You know what I mean? Like, these are the individuals who you've already said you trust. I was in the room. Y'all said y'all trust us, right? We're going to be good stewards of that by platforming you. Like, I speak all the time, but it's not about what I think. It's about what these youth can imagine for themselves. You know what I mean? And how we guide that imagination, how we platform that imagination with understanding. You know what I mean? How we infuse that creativity with wisdom. Taking what they already have in abundance and adding the seeds that we have from our experiences to that will give us everything that our community needs.
We look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow, 12 to 4, 940 Madison Avenue. Again, ask you to please, MyBeMoreProject.com's a partner here of sharing information. Anything that you find here, please share, and we'll make sure that Aaron and team has it. Just again, trying to act as a way to mine this information, Aaron, because we've always had the power.
Right.
Just needed that reminder. But the way that you say it, it's not about what you think, it's what our children can imagine. So I will imagine seeing everyone tomorrow, again, 12 to 4, 940 Madison Avenue. Aaron, I love
you, sis.
man. Talk to you later.
Thank you.